Welcome to the show. This is What's Your Story? My name is Catherine Mwangi. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. My guest today is the CEO of Lesedi Group, and her name is Esther Wagora. And her story is not just about being CEO, but she has been through hell and high water where family is concerned to emerge through the other side. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So, Miss Wagora, your story about, what people go through with their in-laws, in their marriages, with their families. And yes, you're a CEO, so you're a business leader in your own right, and that's great, and we'll touch on that.
Sure.
But I want us to talk about you and that period of time when, we all get to that age where we want to get married, we meet someone we love.
Yes.
It's all roses. Tell us that part of your story.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really thank God to be here. And indeed, as you say, marriage is a very good thing.
Yeah.
It's ordained by God. And I think my life took another twist the moment I said I do. That is where the story of today began.
Yes.
And I got married many years back. And the guy that I came across was a very, very strong believer.
Okay.
We came to know each other in church. And I always say, I think even spiritually, I grew and matured because of my hubby. Because he was a very strong believer.
Yes.
Somebody that I really, before I admired him, I admired the God in him. And who he was when it comes to things that pertains God. And like any other girl, we fell in love.
Yes.
And we started a journey of courtship.
How old were you?
I was very young.
Yeah?
I was heading 21.
Oh, you had found a husband at 21. You give us that secret.
It might not work now. Maybe then it did. But now maybe it may not.
Yes.
But then I think I was that girl that, when I gave my life to Christ, you are a very serious believer.
Yeah.
And I think after college, then I started working, then I came across him, and the courtship began. And it was a good session of courtship, which we weren't like any other person. We went through all the negotiations that are supposed to be done.
Yes.
And we ended up getting married in church.
Okay.
We did a very big wedding back in Nakuru at a very big church called Nakuru Happy Church.
Okay.
That is where we did our wedding, I think 2003.
Okay.
And the journey started.
So during the negotiations where you're, paying dowry, or ratio that is, what was that between your families?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy one because I remember during, I think, the second visit, there is something that happened during those negotiations. And when those things are going on, there are a lot of back and forth, back and forth.
Yes.
And I remember my mother-in-law at some point, she uttered very, strange words that really shocked like everybody.
Wow.
And I remember there is a mzee that I respect a lot from my rural home called Captain, and really was really bothered because she used the word like, kwani ni lazima mtu afanyiwe dowry. And that thing really struck everyone. So it was a good one, but it had some frictions when it comes to the mother-in-law.
Yeah.
But by the end of it all, we were able to do our wedding. And after the wedding, as normal, we went for our honeymoon. And I think I will say it's not unfortunately, it's fortunately. I conceived immediately.
Divine speed. I can see how divine speed was operating in your
Yeah,
life.
it was. And I carried the pregnancy to term.
Okay.
Mind you, during this time, during courtship, we were not in very good terms with mom-in-law.
Okay.
For the reason that up to date, I've never been able to know. Because I think the things that I had done to my mother-in-law, some of them I had not done to my mom, my biological mom. But one thing I came to realize, my hubby was a mother's boy. Such that I think when now the time came for him to get married, the mother was not able to detach from the son.
Right.
Because I remember at some point, I remember my husband then telling the mother, Mom, have you realized I got married? I have a family now.
Yeah.
I might not be able to do the things that I was doing before because now I have other responsibility. So I think all this happened because it was a mother's boy relationship.
Was he the only son?
No. In fact, there are so many of them.
Yeah.
But now my hubby was the person who was like dependable in that home.
Okay.
And they were so close.
Right.
So close.
Right.
So, and I carried now the pregnancy to term.
Right.
And we were blessed with a very handsome boy. We called him Dominion. And I started another journey now of bringing up my son.
Yes.
By then now I was not working. And I remember it was at 5 months. We woke up that day. I prepared my husband. He went to work. And when he went, I think around 11 a.m., my son started developing some, fever. Because I think the gum was really swollen. So I think he was about to teeth.
Yes.
So I didn't, and mind you, I was married at a very young age.
How old were you?
By then now I was going 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And me, I called the dad and I told, I think now Dominion, he's not behaving well.
Right.
And I explained what I was able to identify. So what the dad told me, he told me, can you take the baby to a nearby clinic? So that is what I did.
Yeah.
We went to a nearby clinic where we were staying back in Nakuru then. And I took my baby to the doctor. So after the examination from the doctor gave my son 2 injections. And I think he will allow me to go back kidogo, because before then, like a week, not a week, days, it was on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We went to church. We had another branch at somewhere called Odeon. We had gone for a Sunday service with my son and my hubby. And after the service, we realized the mother had come for service that day with a friend of hers. And she called my hubby and told my hubby, there is the brother, we call it in Kikuyu Moiru. I don't know how to put it in a language that people will be able to understand. But the brother had a sick child who was admitted in a nearby hospital. So,
your hubby's brother?
Yes.
Okay, so your brother-in-law?
And my brother-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah, so the mother was like, why haven't you gone to see, so-and-so's son who is admitted? And because we also had no good relationship with the family, the brother-in-law's family, because of the issue that I don't like sharing them on air. So my hubby told my mom, you understand why my family and my brother's family, we are not comfortable going to the hospital. We have no issue with the child, but the issues. So the mother became so hostile. By then we are walking towards the hospital. So they started arguing with the son until we were in the hospital gate. So me, I stood aside, and the mother became so hostile to a point she took my son from my hands and she quoted words that I will never forget up to date. And she said, I will try to interpret it in Swahili. She said, huyu wenu hawezi gonjeka alale mahali kama hapa na akose kutoboa. Those were the words. And it was so painful to hear some words coming from a parent. So my hubby, because of that, he went inside and saw the son. I left my son with the mother now. I went now to pick matatu. I go home. So my hubby didn't take long. He came, took our son, found me at the stage. We went home.
Yeah. And
those words really crushed our spirit, especially coming from a parent, and you cannot tell why. So that was on Sunday.
Right.
Now on Wednesday, that is when my son now developed fever and everything. So when I took the baby to the doctor, after examination, the doctor gave him 2 injections. And I asked the doctor, can you maybe help me understand what is the purpose of these 2 injections?
Yes.
And the doctor told me, I have realized, I think the boy has signs to do with malaria and the fever is too high. So that is why I have given him 2 injections. And mind you, because they are gifted in that, so I waited maybe for my son to get better. But after like 20-30 minutes, my boy became worse. And I asked the doctor, Kwani, what has happened? So it's like he was also shaken. He asked me, where do you live? I told him I live in your neighborhood. He told me, can you go back home, pick some clothes? We rushed the Dominion to a general hospital, Nakuru then. So me, I left the baby. I went to the house. I took some few clothes, then I came back. But when I was coming back, the boy had really changed, conversed. You know, the eyes started, you know, changing the color. And we went direct to Nakuru General Hospital, straight to the casualty. I always say God works in very mysterious ways. After alighting from the car, I saw my sister. So I called Jane and it was like, what are you doing here? No, I'm here because my neighbor has a sick child. So we went, all of us, now to the ward. And when we went to the ward, my son was taken direct and to the oxygen. They started giving him oxygen. And after a few minutes, I saw the doctor going out. And I asked him, now because you're going out, how will I explain? No, I'm coming back. So I'm telling you, after a few minutes, not even half an hour, my son started vomiting things that were looking like clotted blood. And at that point, I was called by 2 sisters. And they asked me, Mama Dominion, you told us what happened to your baby. I explained about the 2 injections and blah, blah, blah. But I had a word like poisoning. And it was like, what? I really want to know. So they went to those offices. And within a few minutes, my son was gone. And by then I had alerted the dad, we in the hospital. So even when he was arriving, my son was already gone. And it was not a good thing because I think my memory became so fresh on Sunday, the words that I heard from the mother. Then on Wednesday, my son is normal. So we gathered ourselves and we went home. And I can tell you, my dear, what I went through during that morning session when my son was in mortuary. It is something that I will never wish anyone to go through, not even my enemy. And I remember a lot happened because when my mom-in-law came, she did all sort of drama that you could even imagine. She was calling me names. She could sit on this big seat anawekelea miguu juu ya kiti, so everybody could come and it's like whatever she sees anaenda nje. And I remember to a point when our best couple called the mother and was like, ni nini hii unaulizanga Esther? What did Esther do to you? And I tell you, it was not easy, but finally the day came. We went and laid our son and we came back home as normal. We were left with my hubby now. We encouraged ourselves because life have to move on. What I always say, the vacuum of a baby will always be filled by getting another baby. Okay. And I think after 6 months, I conceived again.
Okay.
And I started the journey of carrying the pregnancy. And I remember I was at my 6 months. I was leaving, I was coming out from work. My hubby then had a business in town. So it was my culture. I leave the office, go to his business, close the business, we go home.
Together.
And I remember when I went, I found a lot of clients at the door and the mother was there. So when the mother saw me, she looked at me with those eyes like, I don't know how I can put it. We say in Kikuyu, konyira.
Contempt.
Exactly, that is the word. And I didn't say anything. I didn't even wait for my husband. I just left. I went home. So after he closed the business, he came direct home. So I prepared supper, we took supper. But it was heading around 11, 12 there. From nowhere.
Midnight.
Yes, I developed labor pains. And mind you, it was my 6th month. So what we did, she rushed me to a hospital called Annex Hospital. But I'm telling you, reaching the hospital, I ruptured and I lost the pregnancy that very day. So it was not an easy thing. When morning came, my hubby came. So he found things as they were. And we went home. And it was painful because now I could relate with whatever had happened before, the way he saw me the previous day, the looks. And we went home, and it was not easy. But I was married to a very strong believer. My hubby was a very strong believer who was really encouraging me, because most of the time I was telling, can you do this? Can you get a girl? Marry a girl that your mother will accept. And he kept encouraging me. Yes, I didn't marry you because of kids. I didn't marry you because I just married you because I love you. So as much as I would push him away, he was always there for me. And it became another journey that we started, a journey of pain again. Mind you, like 5 months ago, 6 months, or a year or so there, we had buried a son. This is another pregnancy that is already gone.
What did the doctors attribute to the rupture of that pregnancy?
I think they were not even able to identify, because, I started labor pains. Reaching the hospital, I ruptured and the pregnancy was. So there is nothing much they were able to do. So I cannot tell what had happened. So nobody knew what happened. And, we started another journey. And during this season now, we are in a state of do we get another baby again? Do we try again? And it reached a point where I also had a lot of fears, because as a human being, you will also relate to whatever happened before. And my hubby kept on encouraging me, to a point, I think, again, after I think a year and some months or so, I conceived again. And I started the journey of carrying the pregnancy. And again at 6 months, I was coming out from work. I went through the supermarket then. They were called the Tusky supermarket. By then, Nakuru, they were called Magic. The way you go through the supermarket, few foodstuffs, maziwa and such. And when I was at cashier's paying, guess what? The next cashier, it was my mom-in-law. And when she saw me, the same looks, I'm telling you, my body was, I felt a very cold chill. I started shaking. I paid my stuff and I went home direct. What I did, I just made a call to my husband and I told him what happened. So he just encouraged me and came home. And when he came home, kawaida, we took supper. And around exactly the same hours again, around 11, 12, I started labor pains. And before even we were in the hospital, the labor became so strong, so vigorous. And when we went to hospital, before the doctor came, again I ruptured. And I lost another pregnancy now, the second one. And the pain was too much. Too much. Because the same experience of what happened during the first miscarriage, it is the same thing. The mother that I saw in the supermarket with the same look, again, something at 6 months, both of them at 6 months. And it was so painful. But there is nothing much we could have done. So the following day, my hubby came and he found the story. We went home. And when we went home now, we tried to see what we can do to know what exactly we did to our mother. The reason that, we did to make us go through this hell. Because I'm telling you, some of the things that you take somebody, it is death. Because if it were not God, maybe I could have also lost my life. And I'm telling you, we started another journey of involving people to go talk to her. The friends tried to reach her out. She could not listen to anyone. Her family, the aunties, they tried to talk to her. She didn't listen. And I remember at some point now, my mother, my biological mother, together with my sister, they said they will go and try to seek help from her. I remember when they went, hakuna majina hawakuitwa na my mom-in-law. Every sort of name. They went back, and because, they really, my husband had a lot of favor in my family. Everybody loved him. So despite the pain that I was going through, it was very hard for them to tell me, Esther, can you leave this marriage? Because of who my hubby was in our family. So they really tried, everybody tried to look for peace, but she never listened to any one of them. To a point I remember, now our own pastor, they knew the family, called my hubby and told my hubby, now, so and so, everybody have tried to reach out to your mom. Not the family, the friends, everyone has tried. But now I want now to reach her, and I want to use the grace and the anointing that God has given me. I want to talk to her. And it was like my hubby laughed, and it was like, are you sure you will be able to handle her? And the pastor told my hubby, make sure you have an appointment. Let her tell you when we can meet, both of us. So my hubby went, and I thank God she accepted to meet our pastor on a certain Sunday. And when that Sunday came, it was not easy for me. And I'm telling you, from around 3, 4 there, that place was hell. She did all sorts of things. I remember at some point, the waiters had to go call for the manager, because ilikuwa imefika ile mahali ya kugongania paka meza, almost the hell, we saw the hell coming down.
Yeah.
But I thank God, at around 7 p.m., now the pastor stood and started addressing her prophetically, and started reversing any curse that she might have done, or, toward us. He started prophesying through the anointing and the grace that God has given him. Until at some point, now around 7, now she cooled down. Akarudi chini kabisa, and I remember what she said, nitawabariki. And I'm telling you, at that moment, I broke down, because I didn't realize what I had done to deserve all this. But because that is what you are looking for, so she had a moment of now praying for us. And I remember after the prayers, the Mrs. Pastor whispered and told me, Esther, make sure she has done prayers holding your womb, because of the fruit of your womb. And after the prayers, that is what I requested, which she did. And there was kind of peace, and we left the place. But I'm telling you, once bitten, twice shy. So it was like, now the relationship is there, but I was really careful, very careful to be very close to
her. Okay, I'll pause you there.
Yeah.
Because you have to take just a very short break. Don't go too far. Esther's story is still unfolding, and we'll be back right after this commercial break. Welcome back. It's What's Your Story? I'm Catherine Mwangi, having a conversation with Esther Wagora. We've established in part 1, just in case you're joining us now, that she got married to the love of her life at 22 years old, much to the chagrin of her mother-in-law. She carried a baby to term to 5 months and lost dominion at 5 months old. She carried a baby to 6 months and had a ruptured pregnancy, and about 1.5 years later, she carried another child for 6 months and also ruptured that pregnancy. And we left it off before the break, where they had to go seek for help from their pastor and the mother-in-law to find out just what did we do to deserve this. And so you were saying to us that after the prayers, you went back home, but you were still very cautious, very guarded, because in as much as you believed what happened, but you still there could not be a relationship with her.
There was, but it was not a conducive one, because I think I had a lot of fears.
Yeah.
And as they always say, once bitten, twice shy. So the relationship was there, but a distant one. And we started another now phase, trusting God that now things are okay. And I think after, is it 8 months or so there,
Okay.
we tried again. And this time, we decided with my hubby to consult now a gynecologist from the word go. Because we didn't want to take anything to chance. And when we went, we visited a very renowned gynecologist in Nakuru. He's known, he's called Dr. Otara. And he did the investigation, we gave the story, the history. And luckily, the last miscarriage, he's the one who attended me. So he could remember the last miscarriage that I had. So what he advised me, he advised me to have a bed rest from the word go.
Okay.
So I was put on bed rest. So I resigned from working. I was at home. And I started another journey of carrying the pregnancy. And I remember again at 6 months, I was going for just a normal clinic. These normal clinics, Jauzito, yeah. I remember I went around in the evening because when I went, I called my hubby, and when he came, it was past 6 p.m. So we went in together to see the doctor because I had an appointment that day. So when we went to the doctor's office, he started examining me. And after he was done, he asked me questions and was like, Esther, how are you feeling? And I told the doctor, I'm okay. No. Tell me, how are you feeling? I told the doctor, I'm just okay. Yeah. I'm only tired.
Yeah.
And he asked me, do you have headache? No. I told the doctor, I'm just feeling tired. So he sat down, took a paper and started writing. And after writing, he closed the paper and gave to my husband. I told my husband, in the next few minutes, we meet in the ward. And I became very hostile because according to me, there is nothing weird that I was feeling.
Yeah.
Nothing strange. And I asked the doctor, why am I going to hospital and I'm feeling okay?
Yeah.
And I became hostile.
And you were 6 months.
6 months, exactly. 6 months. And my husband told me, if you hear doctor insisting on something, can you kindly obey? And I told him, can we go home then? I picked some few clothes. He told me, no. Can we go direct to the hospital? I asked him, why doctor? And he said, if you went home, we would be speaking of another thing. It was like, why? Me was not sick. So when we asked him what was happening, kumbe the pressure was too high to a point, mtoto alikuwa ameanza kushindwa kubreathe. And I was admitted thinking I'll be in the hospital for days. It became weeks. It became months. And for 3 months, 2 weeks, I was in hospital bed 24 hours sleeping. The doctor comes, try to get those, heartbeats. They are nowhere. The doctor leaves the room. I speak to my baby. Shekina, can you behave? Because we had even the name. But I thank God, somehow, we were able, God blessed us with a daughter after that struggle. And we were blessed with a very beautiful daughter that we call her Shekaina after that very big struggle.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very, another moment of thanking God. And I remember even in the hospital when we were going home, it was a ceremony because I had become part of that family.
Yes.
People come, go, and I was there for those 3 months and 2 weeks. And we went home and now we started another journey. And it came now a time like now we have won the battles za watoto.
Yes.
And our child grew. Yeah. And after 4 years again, I conceived.
Oh.
I started another journey.
Yes.
But now that one, I was put on bed rest, but not in the hospital.
In the hospital.
Yeah, and I carried the child to term. Mind you, then, my hubby had relocated to Nairobi.
Okay.
He had gotten another very good job. So by then, he had business in Nakuru. So he relocated here after getting another job, which was, a good job. We discussed as a family, and I released him. So he was in Nairobi. So I conceived, and then again, I started another journey of carrying the pregnancy. But I think when I was is it 7 or 8 months, I relocated now to Nairobi.
Okay.
Now, yeah. So I remember when I was delivering my second born, I was in Nairobi.
Okay.
We went to Kikuyu Hospital and I delivered the child normally. But now, something now was almost striking when I was delivering.
Okay.
Because I remember mine was all through the CS. And when I went to theatre, we decided to do this process that, you know, not a GA, ya kuralisha mtu from kwa tumbo kurudi chini. I don't know how they call it.
Okay.
But when they were doing their own thing now to make sure now that this part going chini, you know, their own things, instead of working, ika work contrary to me. Kuliko nikufe chini, dawa ikanihiti nikaanza kukufa like a GA. And it was they realized something has happened and they asked, hey Esther, are you okay? And I told the doctor, no, nasikia nimechoka. So they again reversed. And now ikafanyika and mtoto wangu akatolewa. And when they were doing the operation, even after removing the baby, I could identify my boy and I saw it is a boy. The boy cried and, you know, they took now the baby. They were left with me now to you know, to work on me. So finally they had now to take me to the nursery.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when I went there, the baby that I saw was it cannot be my baby. Because what I saw, it was totally different from the baby that I had seen when I was in theatre. My baby had pipes all over. His left leg was like kuchomeka. Unaona venye unaweza weka kuku kwa maji moto? That is how the leg was. And it was like, no, this can't be my son. That is where now my hubby was called. And he tried to explain what happened. It was like, I think when I was given the injection ya kufanya nikufe, the dawa reacted to my son and ikamhit. So when they took him to the nursery, when they were trying now to overcome that, the person who came now to look for the vein, instead of now putting the injection on the vein, akaweka kwa tissue. So what the drug did, ikachoma mtoto completely. And it became another battle that I could not carry it. Mind you, I'm also very sick. Very bad headache. This is my son who is on pipes all over. Muguu ni kama ilikuwa imewekwa kwa maji moto. And at that point, my hubby started praying. We had two names. The way people sit together when you are planning to have a baby and come up with names. So the name that we had given him is, he started praying with another name. We had two names, Faithful and Benaiah.
Okay.
So when I delivered, I called him Faithful.
Yes.
But when he started praying now, he started praying with Benaiah. Benaiah was a king in the Bible. And he was a captain, not a king. And they were going for battle with David. So he was in the battle with David. And the Bible says he fought, Benaiah fought and won the war. So immediately now, the father changed the name to Benaiah. And he started prophesying, as your name is, you shall live. He prophesied. And that is how we change now the name. And to cut the story short, the second day, my son was in theatre. Because now they had now to work on that leg, to dress it, you know, work on it. And for 1 month again, I stayed in Kikuyu Hospital because of my son. And I remember before we left, there is a Sunday that my mom-in-law came. And I remember when he made a call and told my hubby he's coming, he came and shared with me. And he told me, I will try every means. I won't allow my mom to go to that nursery to see my son. You know, because of the same fears. And he did. When she came, he maneuvered and she was not able to see the baby. And she went back. And after a month again, we left the hospital. And by God's grace, I was able to take my bag for dressing for like other 2 months. And he healed completely. And up to date, he's a very good boy, a very big boy, charming boy. And you know, it came a time now we felt that God has fought our battles when it comes to the fruit of our womb.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, what happened again, it's like the ball changed. Instead of fighting now, the battles is our total. Now my marriage, the devil fought my marriage. Mind you, then I was in Nairobi. But at some point, we had to go back again to Nakuru. So I went back when my son was, I think, around 2 years there. I think so. Around 1 year and some months. And I had no big deal I can talk about it, concerning my marriage and my hubby, because every weekend he was coming. Mind you, now he's in Nairobi, I'm in Nakuru. And every weekend he was coming home, the communication was good. But it came a time when now I realized he was coming every weekend. It started once in a month. After 2 months, the communication started becoming weak. And I realized there is something that is not right. And you know, being your husband, you will definitely know something is not right. At some point, I would call his phone at night. I would hear, a child laughing. I would ask this, na huyu mtoto ni wa nani? No, it is a neighbor's child. When I come to Nairobi, I would ask, where is this baby that I always hear on the phone, and it's no walihama. And it was so clear again. Alikuwa ameenda nje ya ndoa. And again, I started another painful journey of now working on my marriage. We tried to get to the roots of why he's doing this. And I remember it became a very big struggle between me, the family, and him. At some point, he told our best couples, ni mimi nilikataria Nakuru. So I had now to relocate again to Nairobi. By then, I had also noted everything. I could check on his phone. I could get messages. He could get, calls when we are together. Ilifika mahali he could not mind anymore. So the lady would call and he doesn't care totally.
Did they have a child together?
No. No, hakuwa wake, but the lady had a child.
Oh, okay.
So I had no choice apart from now relocating to Nairobi. So my coming to Nairobi was coming to salvage my marriage.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, it never worked. In fact, it wasn't. And he's the one who looked for a house. He came and now shifted us from Nakuru to Nairobi. And mind you, then, I didn't have a job because I had to resign in Nakuru. I have a small baby because I think my son then was now 2 years. The firstborn was around 6 years, 5-6 years there. So thinking that my marriage will work, in fact, it wasn't. Because I think he never came back home where he brought us in Nairobi. He continued with his business with the lady to a point now it was so clear. And I'm telling you, sometimes it is so painful. Because I remember not once I would call his phone, either akose kuchukua, or I remember some instances, I called his phone, not the lady's phone. I called my hubby's phone. Instead of not picking, he gives the phone to the lady to talk to me, and it's like the lady would ask me, wewe, unatakaje na bwanangu? Not once I called him at night. Anachukua simu, instead of talking to me, the phone is left on, you hear what is happening in bed. I went through every torture. I remember my first job that I got in Nairobi. It was a sales job, something that I had not done because in Nakuru I had done accounts. So I had been an accountant for many years. So I was an office person. It is a new city, a new job of sales that I have never done. I remember I was paid 10,000, but I had no choice because my babies had to, to eat, and everything had to move on. But I thank God because I think he used the same job to elevate me to where I am. And it became so painful. We tried, the best couples tried. I would even inform the mother of what is happening. She would pretend, because I can say I came to realize later, she was pretending to be together with me, but she was with the son. Because at some point, I even realized my hubby had taken the lady to the mother. But when we are talking, we are just together. And ikafika mahali, I surrendered completely. And I told God to bless the work of my hands. And I started now working for my children. I remember there is an instance he came and found me at home, and we engaged in a very bad argument. I remember I had a house help who was a very good girl, Janet. And you know, she was experiencing what I was going through. So she had a lot of pain. To a point, she took our wedding video. Akaiweka on. She forwarded it to where now the session of now taking the vows. And she asked him, so and so, are you not the one who made those vows? She made sure I'm a forward to that point. And I remember the words that my hubby said. He told Janet, I was just acting. Those were the words. Those vows, he was just acting. And it was so painful. And I told God, can you now help me take care of my kids? And you know, he went completely. And ikakaa ni kama nimemsahau. So me, I focused on my kids. At some point he would come, ninaambiwa alikuwa amekuja kuona watoto, but me, the both of us, we were not meeting. And I remember there is a time now it came that he went completely like 8 months without hearing about him or anything. Me, I'm busy taking care of my children. I remember after those 8 months, I received a call from him. I saw his call and it was like, ni kukosea, amekosea, ama ni nini? But I took the call. And after picking that call, he asked me, are you home? Nikamwambia, yes, I'm home. And he told me, I am on my way to Nairobi and I have a bag of charcoal that I want to drop to you guys.
He had left Nairobi, he had moved?
I cannot tell where he was because it's like 8 months. Kama hatujaongea or kuonana. So me, I was just moving on, taking care of my children. So I could not tell of his whereabouts. And you know, he had relocated to where the lady was. You know, so me, I thought now, wame move on. So it was so painful to me because for almost a year, did you even know whether I was using makaa to cook, whether we have been eating, or, you know, those words really crushed my spirit. But I didn't say anything because I think when I was getting married, the classes that I was taking, I think they were all about respecting your husband and such. So, and after like an hour or so, they came and he called me, na wakaniambia they are at the gate. I opened the gate and the colleagues now took the bag of charcoal wakalete kwa corridor. Now thinking they are dropping the charcoal then, aende kwenye anaendaga. Akaingia kwa nyumba and the colleagues left. But I'm telling you, if there is a time I felt pain, it is that day. I looked at him and the pain was so fresh in me, so fresh. The kids are here, to them, ni dad, they are happy to see him. But after looking at him, I saw a very weak person. He had changed, he had lost weight. And I asked him, hey, what happened? Because the way I see you, it's not the way I saw you last. And he told me, no, niligonjeka.
You know, I think we'll stop your story at this point so that we can continue with it next week. I do not want us to rush it, so that the people can get to have the full picture of the journey that you have walked and what you have overcome. So we'll have a part 2, but for now I have to stop. So we say goodbye and we pick this up from next week. You okay with that? Yeah. Okay, so we have to say goodbye now. And please, please, please make an appointment to watch next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. For a part 2 of Esther Wagora's story. This will bless you. It will inspire you. I have a great feeling about it. I'm also getting to learn things as we move along, so you and I in the same boat. Thank you so much for watching tonight. It's What's Your Story? I'm Catherine Mwangi. So honored that you make the time every week to just tune in and just get to hear people's stories and hopefully get inspiration and motivation from that. Until we meet again for Esther's part 2, take care.
The Wedding Fair by Kempinski is here. Discover the latest wedding trends and fashion from the leading wedding exhibitors. Villa Rosa Kempinski welcomes you to witness an exquisite wedding fair on the 20th of November from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come and experience all the glitz and glam of all things wedding.